so steeped in American history. It shares its name with an iconic national park, a bourbon whose story weaves through, over 150 years of triumph and upheaval? Today, we're doing a deep dive into that captivating world, Yellowstone Bourbon and the family behind its resurgence, the Limestone Branch Distillery.
Right. And our mission here really is to unearth not just the rich heritage, which is fascinating, but also the precise craftsmanship and the surprising cultural connections, too, that make this bourbon stand out. We've got some great sources lined up. They covered the distillery experience, the bourbon's legacy, how it's made, and yeah, even its recent pop culture impact.
Okay, let's start with that distillery experience. You mentioned feeling right at home. Let's kick things off there. The Limestone Branch Distillery. You paint this picture of an intimate, kind of no-frills craft distillery nestled in the rolling hills of Kentucky. Sounds pretty idyllic.
It really is, and it lives up to that. The visitor experience gives you this really up-close look at whiskey making. And just as important, the whiskey enjoying part of it all. Honestly, you feel like family pretty quickly. They have these mottos they really live by. Spirits made daily, regulars made hourly.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah, and just good folks making good juice. It's that genuine warmth. It just sets the whole tone.
That sounds great. And if you're thinking about visiting, I know I am now. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And you mentioned something interesting. It's one of the few distilleries actually open on a Monday.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big plus for travelers mapping out their trip. You can book a tour ahead of time or, just swing by, grab a drink at the bar, no pressure.
Good to know. And the address, for anyone jotting this down, is 1280 Veterans Memorial Highway, Lebanon, Kentucky. That's 47033.
And while Yellowstone Bourbon is clearly their flagship, it's interesting how they balance tradition and innovation. They also make other spirits, like minor case straight rye whiskey.
Oh, yeah. What's special about that one?
Well, this rye is finished in cream sherry casks.
Cream sherry. Interesting.
Yeah, it gives it this distinct nutty sweetness, a sort of rounder mouthfeel than your typical rye. And then, get this, they even make gin, Bowling and Birch gin.
Gin on the Bourbon Trail.
Right. Their challenge is basically, don't knock it till you try it.
That is pretty bold for a Kentucky distillery, especially one with that beam heritage, gin and sherry finished rye. How do they, square that with the traditional bourbon focus, especially for their audience?
I think it really comes down to intentionality.
Yeah.
They see it as extending their craft.
Yeah.
Applying the same dedication, the same quality focus, just to different spirits. It shows confidence, really. They know they can experiment without losing that core identity.
Yeah.
And it's paid off. They've got some serious awards.
Like what?
Double platinum at the Ascot Awards.
Yeah.
And USA Today's 10 Best Readers' Choice named them Best Craft Whiskey Distillery.
Wow, okay. So recognition from critics and the public, that speaks volumes. What really gets me, though, is how this modern distillery connects back so far. Let's get into that history, because here's where it gets really interesting, right? The Yellowstone Bourbon story itself.
It's pretty incredible. The name Yellowstone for the whiskey, it goes back to 1872. That's the exact same year Yellowstone National Park was founded.
No kidding.
Yeah. It was originally meant as a tribute to nature's grandeur, America's spirit, that sort of thing. And think about it. This brand, tied to that name, has survived for over 150 years. It lived through Prohibition, world wars, different owners, just kept going.
How does a brand even do that, especially through all that upheaval?
Well, that resilience is not just about legacy. It's about adapting tradition, I think, without losing what makes it special. It really says something about the power of a name, a story,
And connecting that history to today are the Beam brothers, Stephen and Paul Beam, direct descendants of the Beam family, seventh-generation distillers. That's some serious lineage.
It absolutely is. And when they started Limestone Branch in 2010, a big part of their mission was bringing Yellowstone Bourbon back to the roots. They really blend modern innovation with that classic Kentucky craftsmanship.
Yeah.
It feels like a homecoming for the whiskey.
Okay, so you have this deep history, this legendary family name, the modern craft approach. So what does this all mean when you actually pour a glass? Let's talk about the crafting process. How does that history translate into taste?
Right. It all starts with carefully selected raw materials, primarily corn for that sweetness, then rye for a spicy edge, and malted barley. That helps with fermentation and adds some nutty notes. But critically, the water. It's sourced directly from limestone-rich springs right there in Kentucky.
The famous Kentucky limestone water.
Exactly. It provides natural filtration, adds minerals, gets rid of any metallic iron taste. You get a softer, cleaner whiskey base.
Sure, that water's key. But is
Right.
there anything else about the Kentucky environment, the terroir, that shapes Yellowstone specifically? Beyond the water?
Well, it's mainly that water chemistry combined with the climate for aging. The Kentucky weather swing is crucial. But before aging, the mash is fermented slowly. Then it's distilled in classic copper pot stills.
Copper stills, right. Why copper?
Copper's really important. It reacts with the spirit during distillation. It removes sulfur, compounds those harsh notes. But it does it in a way that lets the complex flavors, the fruity, rich notes, really come through. It purifies but preserves the nuances.
Okay, so careful selection, limestone water, copper stills, and then comes the aging. The magic part, some would say.
Precisely. The whiskey matures in new, charred American oak barrels. That charring process caramelizes sugars in the wood. That's where you get those deep notes of vanilla, caramel, chocolate, spices, classic bourbon flavors. And what's cool, especially with some releases like the Yellowstone Limited Edition, is they often do a finish in special casks.
A finish, like what kind?
Could be different things. Maybe deeply recharred wine casks, which add fruitiness, tannins, or maybe rum casks, like we'll talk about later, adding tropical sweetness. It just adds extra layers of complexity.
Now, shifting gears a bit, you almost can't discuss Yellowstone Bourbon today without mentioning the TV show, the Yellowstone series with Kevin Costner. It feels like it's blown up the bourbon's visibility.
Oh, absolutely. It's this natural synergy. Really fascinating. The show focuses on heritage, strength, that fight to preserve American culture and land, the ranch life.
Right, all those big themes.
Yeah, and those core values really resonate with the bourbon's own story. Its history, its resilience. It's not just the name. The show's vibe, that authenticity, the ruggedness, the connection to land, it sort of mirrors the bourbon's character. So it's become a huge favor for fans. They want to sip something that reflects that spirit,
Yeah.
that raw strength, that connection to Americana.
Makes total sense. It taps into something primal. Okay, speaking of character and taste, let's dive into some specific bottles. Yellowstone has a pretty cool range that shows off their craft.
Definitely. Let's start with the cornerstone. Yellowstone Select 93 proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon. That's 46.5% ABV. This is their delicate, award-winning blend, hand-picked combination of 4- and 7-year-old bourbons.
So kind of their benchmark expression.
Exactly. It's won gold medals. It's a CP Awards, San Francisco World Spirits Competition, Berlin. It's consistent. Flavor-wise, think elegant spicy rye, soft leather cherry notes moving into smoky caramel. The finish is rich, classic Kentucky bourbon, brown sugar, a really solid, approachable pour.
Nice. Then you have the annual Yellowstone Limited Edition. You mentioned the 2018 earlier at 50.5% ABV. These are always different, right? Based on the finishing cast.
That's right. Exclusive blends, usually older bourbons mixed in, maybe 4 to 12 years old. And that 2018 finished in those deeply recharred wine casks. That really changed it. You get caramel, red berries, wine, wet oak on the nose, taste-wise. Dark chocolate, raspberry, cherry, maybe a hint of brandy. It's got this full texture. The finish is dry, precise. You really taste the oak and sherry from that cask. Shows what finishing can do.
Very cool. And part of their special finishes collection is that Yellowstone rum cask finish. 100 proof, so 50% ABV. Finished for 9 weeks in rum casks from Cuba.
Direct from Havana, Cuba, yeah. 9 weeks. It's a 4-year Kentucky Straight bourbon base. That finish gives it spicy notes and this unexpected tropical sweetness. The aroma, poached pear, ginger cake, fresh cut hay.
Yeah.
Really different.
Wow. And the taste.
It's this balance of toffee, toasted oak, marshmallow, even creme brulee comes through. And the finish is long. Hints of clove, tobacco, cocoa spiced oak, but all rounded off with this soft honey sweetness. It's quite an experience.
Sounds like an adventure in a glass. Okay, what else is key in their lineup?
Well, for those wanting that direct family connection, there's the Yellowstone 6-year family recipe, also 100 proof, 50% ABV. This one's based on an actual family recipe. It offers a rich, complex profile.
What kind of notes are we talking about there?
More classic bourbon notes. Caramel, vanilla, just a hint of spice. Really embodies that generational tradition. And just to mention it, they also do a Yellowstone American single malt whiskey. 108 proof, 54% ABV.
A single malt from a bourbon distillery.
Yeah, it shows their range, their distilling skill beyond just bourbon. They describe it as a unique American icon stemming from those same roots, perfected through 7 generations. Shows their versatility.
What a journey we've taken, from that intimate distillery welcome in Kentucky, through the deep history tied to a national park, the meticulous crafting, the Beam family legacy, all the way to the pop culture spotlight and this diverse range of expressions. It's clearly so much more than just, another bourbon.
It really is. And maybe a final thought for you to consider. Think about how much a product's name, its backstory, shapes how we experience it. Yellowstone connects to a national park and a huge TV show. How does that connection, that history and pop culture blend, actually flavor our perception? It adds layers beyond just what's in the glass, doesn't it? How do those elements uniquely shape our experience of tradition itself? Something to mull over.